Hello everyone, Storm 101 here. Today we'll be having an update on multiple severe weather risks, stretching from portions of the Midwest down into parts of the Ohio Valley over the next couple of days, maybe even to parts of the Northeast once again by this weekend. Before we get started on this video, if you guys like weather-related content, you can subscribe to my channel. We do this stuff here all the time on this channel. Plus, we'll have more updates on some of these severe weather setups over the next couple of days, so definitely stay tuned for more updates as well. I also do have an announcement at the end of the video, so if you want to hear the announcement, you can either skip or you could just wait. Doesn't matter to me. But anyways, let's get started with the watch warning advisory display. Not a whole lot going across the country. There's some wind issues across parts of the Northern Rockies out there. Could be very windy up there. Fire weather issues once again for portions of Texas and New Mexico. Some of them guys actually got some rain yesterday, which is some good news. Fortunately, did come with some severe weather, but they could take any rain they can get. We do have a severe thunderstorm watch in north central Missouri into a few counties in southern Iowa, where we do have some severe weather going on there, even back into portions of Kansas and Nebraska. There's no severe thunderstorm watch. That'll probably change probably in the next hour, but there is a severe thunderstorm warning out there as well. And where we did have some severe weather, parts of Northeast yesterday, some of those folks are in a frost advisory right now, which is kind of crazy. Let's check out the storm reports for yesterday. Of course, it was active in the Northeast. However, it wasn't very active in the parts of Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Storms did not really get very organized in that area, but areas south and north of that region was active. In the parts of New York, Vermont, and New Hampshire, we did have an organized squall line of thunderstorms roll through, even a tornado or two in New Hampshire. You don't hear a tornado in New Hampshire very often. And there was also some significant hail in the parts of Maryland and Delaware, and that's also something you don't hear very often. And we also had severe weather in North Carolina, even a tornado near New Bern, North Carolina. Um, Even not only the Northeast got severe weather, you even go back to the West. We had a couple landspout tornadoes in northeastern Colorado, southwestern Nebraska, and there were some scattered wind damage reports from the Northern Rockies into west central Texas. But really, overall, yesterday was an active day. 6 tornado reports, 184 wind reports in total, and 26 hail reports. 3 of those were significant as well. So, yeah, yesterday was certainly an active day. Let's check out today's severe weather outlook. We got any enhanced risk for severe weather for southeastern Nebraska, southwestern Iowa, northwestern Missouri, into parts of northern and northeastern Kansas. There is a 5% tornado risk out there. But really, the main threat is going to be damaged winds. Some of it could be significant, and large hail, which even some of that could be significant as well. Not really expected too much way of supercell tornadoes, but it's more of going to be kind of like clusters of thunderstorms. You know, of course, they could produce damaged winds, especially when they first form. They could certainly produce a large hail out there. But regardless, the tornado threat is still going to be out there if you see supercells out there or not. Day 2, which is tomorrow, we got 3 marginal risk areas. You got one in the portions of northeastern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, portions of upper Michigan. There's another one for southeastern Colorado, southwestern Kansas, the panhandle of Oklahoma, the northern Texas panhandle, and northeastern New Mexico. There's also another marginal risk for southern um, Missouri, parts of northeastern Arkansas, the southern half of Illinois, southern Indiana, southern Ohio, northern Tennessee, far western West Virginia and Virginia, in the entire state of Kentucky. Now, the area we're going to be most focused on Wednesday is going to be in the lower Ohio Valley region. It's definitely looking very interesting for tomorrow as well. We're not surprised if we do see a slight risk upgrade for some of those areas. What you do see are there is a 2% tornado risk over most of the state of Kentucky, even for some of the surrounding areas. Damage winds would be the main threat. There could also be some hail out there with some of the storms as well. So then again, tomorrow could be an interesting day. Day 3, which is Thursday, We got slight risk of severe weather for portions of the Midwest. And on day 4, which is Friday, we got a slight risk of severe weather for northeastern Texas, extending all the way up into portions of Michigan. And really, it's very similar to what we saw a couple days ago as well. This is going to be along a strong cold front that's going to be continuing to move to the southeast. And that severe weather risk could move into some areas further to the southeast by Saturday as well. Let's get started with today's severe weather potential, and we'll check out the 18Z HER model run. It's not the latest run here, but you can see here it's doing an alright job with some of the current storms in the portions of southern Iowa and northern Missouri. You can see here they're kind of supercell type of storms, but really the main threat of those is going to be large hail, damaged winds. There could, of course, be an elevated tornado risk. But if you look back off to the west and the portions of southern Nebraska and northern Kansas, new storms do form out there. And what's going to be interesting as we get into the overnight hours, a Mexico convective vortex could also form as well. So that can help increase the severe weather risk as well. What a Mexico convective vortex is, it's just pretty much a mini low pressure system. Sometimes you can see some of this stuff like this out of tropical systems, which of course is over land. But sometimes when you see a Mexico convective vortex go in the ocean waters, especially this time of year, they could become a tropical system. So that's pretty much what they are. And when it comes to Mexico convective vortex, this is a little area of low pressure, which you're able to see it pretty well. Actually, you don't see it very well on this model run here, but I do believe it'll still be there. So we do get into Wednesday as well, and that extends the threat farther to the southeast by Wednesday as well. Now, there is some uncertainty when we get into Wednesday, but let's first backtrack a little bit. We'll just talk about later today first before we get into Wednesday. So we'll check out the significant tornado parameters. I know it's a little hard to see here, but you can see here significant tornado parameters will be very high in the portions of southern Kansas, in the parts of Oklahoma. If we do get a sounding out there, there will be one. Well, actually, there's not a cap in place, but one of the issues out there is that there's nothing really to get these storms going. You need a lift mechanism, like an outflow boundary, a warm front, or a cold front. Even though there's no cap in place, you do not have a way for storms to form or to trigger them. So, really, that's why the potential for tornadoes down there is a little bit lower, or severe weather in general, which you can see here in that same particular area from the SPC. It's only a marginal risk out there. So, given that said, you do need something to get these storms to get going as well. But areas farther up to the north, much lower significant tornado parameter values, but still favorable for some severe weather. You got a smaller hodograph out there, and there's also going to be some decent story of helicity values. In the lower levels, there's some weaker shear, but if you get into the higher levels, there's some slightly better wind shear out there. The tornado threat overall is not going to be a huge one or anything. It's mostly going to be a wind and hail combo type of threat, which we'll check out the wind and hail ingredients here. There's a lot of instability for hail. Mixer Cape is 3,100, which is favorable for damaged winds. Downdraft Cape is pretty high. Low lap rates, not really there, but do believe Downdraft Cape will kind of, take over that or overrule that anyway. And then there's strong mid-level lap rates out there, which will help increase that large hail threat out there as well. You also notice that towards the surface, there's actually some dry air, and that'll help increase that damage wind risk as well. So there's also some wind direction of high too. At the surface, it's from the southeast, and then you get up to 7 millibars, it's about due west. So very interesting there, but those winds at lower levels are not very strong out there. Keep in mind that too. So given overall by the sounding here, really the main threats is going to be large hail, damage winds, some of that could be significant. Inventory risk, it'll be low, but not zero. So it would not surprise me if we see a tornado or two out there later today. And you notice here as we get in the overnight hours, those significant parameter values really back off. Let's move on to Wednesday now. And you notice here, you know what? The significant parameter values are not very impressive here. from the Her model, but there are some pretty elevated numbers out there. If we do try to get sounding here in West Central Kentucky, there's actually a lot of wind shear in place here, but one of the bigger uncertainties here is there's going to be a cap in place. Out here in Kentucky, we don't see capping setups very often out here, which is very interesting. Most of our severe weather events do not have capping issues out here, but this one here in particular, there could be a cap out there, which makes things a little bit more interesting. There's also a lot of dry air going on out here as well. So, if a storm were to form in this environment here, that's a big if. If you check out some of the other greens, there's a nice photograph in place, and there's actually stronger wind shear out there than what's going on out there today. And there's also some good instability too. Surface space 2200. I feel like it's going to be underestimated Cape. It's done that over the past several severe weather events, so it would not surprise me if it does. The hardest day typically has a better handle with that. Downdraft Cape is not as impressive here, but the lap rates though are good out there as well. So if the sounding were to be correct, all hazards would have been possible. Large hail, damaged winds, even some tornadoes would be possible as well. It also should mention that when it comes to tornado risk out there, would a lot of these sources be discrete or be in a big cluster? That's one of the bigger questions because the potential could be there that could not rule out a strong tornado, but that will depend on if we could get a discrete step because most of the models I've looked at least when it comes to reflectivity, are cluster up, which, the Her model in particular, if we actually check out the reflectivity, you notice here, any storm that kind of forms here, they do kind of cluster up. So they have a very short window for maybe that strong tornado threat here. But there are model differences out there. That's another thing I should mention here. I think that's one of the main reasons why there's not a slight risk out there. If I were to show you guys the original NAM, different story here. For 21Z on Wednesday, it's a little bit farther back it's actually further north, but it's also a little bit aggressive too. If we actually get it sounding in southwestern Indiana and see what this wall here suggests, while that loads here, we'll go back to the Her model and check out significant parameters. And you can see here how those storms do form out there in that type of environment. And there's still some decent significant tornado parameter values out there. So there will be a tornado risk out there, but with the strong tornado potential, which then again, there's going to be some pretty decent tornado velocity values out there, that strong tornado threat could be there. We'll have to wait and see how we'll have to wait and see if models could get a better agreement here, either later tonight or tomorrow. Check out the sounding here. Much better than the sounding that we checked out with the Her model. We got a nice photograph out there. Ignore the signature, it's not accurate. But sorry to velocity values, it's a little bit similar to the Her model, but it's a little bit higher, more instability in place there. And why I said here, the NAM family typically has a slightly better handle with instability. Definitely a big difference. I think it's still a little bit overdone with the instability, but regardless of that, there will be plenty of instability in place. There's still some slight capping on this sound here, but not as bad as what the Her model was suggesting. Downdraft Cape here is actually really lacking in the sounding here, but I still will believe there will be some good downdraft Cape values out there, and lap rates look pretty good. So if this out of here were to be correct, large hail, damaged winds, even tornadoes, one of those could be strong if this out were to be correct out there as well. There's not as much of a capping issue like the Her model was suggesting. And like I said earlier, the NAM family, at least for this time of year anyway, typically has a little bit better handle, especially with instability, than the Her model. I've seen that happen several times before so far this year. If I were to show you guys the high-res NAM, which is, his brother, sister, whatever you want to call it, or its partner, that's probably a better way to put it. Here's the superset composite parameter from the high-res NAM. You notice here it's in a different spot here. It's further back to the south here. A little bit closer to the Her model, but much more aggressive here. You got superset composite values well over 20 in some places. That's quite high. And I think one of the main reasons why it's instability. If you check out surface space Cape, You actually do have some values out there that are close to 5,000 joules per kilogram. Maybe a little bit overkill. I think about, I should say, around 3,000 is probably more accurate. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. So if you check out this sounding here, you know what? You still got a good holograph in place. Wind shear values are actually better than some of the other soundings we've seen. There's also not a cap in place at all. And there's also some good instability values. Surface space is 4,800. Mixed layer is 3,800. And downdrive case is actually elevated with 869. And lap rates look good too. So if this sounding were to be correct, this would be kind of on the higher end scenario. This would be a little bit more of a significant event if the higher stamp were to be correct. So it'll be interesting to see how the models trend on some of their future runs later tonight into tomorrow. But we definitely have to pay attention to this because I've seen people out there kind of overlooking Wednesday, if I'm going to be honest, there as well, at least for what I've seen anyway. Not many people has talked about this. So Wednesday is definitely a day here to watch in the lower Ohio Valley region here. And it could also go into the overnight hours too. That's another thing. You can see here, even getting to 6Z Thursday, there's still some good superset composite parameters, even down to portions of Tennessee as well. And then we get into Friday, or I meant Thursday. Sorry. And we'll switch over to the NAM model. You can see here pretty good superset composite parameters out there from southeastern Minnesota down to southeastern Nebraska. If we actually check out some other ingredients like the Lova Jet, there's actually a pretty good Lova Jet in place out there. And I do believe this is a strong low as well. So this is going to be another setup to really pay attention closely. And dew points deep in the 60s out there. Something that will not surprise me for this time of year. Surface-based CAPE. There's actually quite a bit of sign in out there that could be an issue out there as well, which does lead to a strong cap. So there is some uncertainty even getting into Thursday. But earlier in the day, though, there's actually not much sign in some places, but it really goes up as you get into the overnight hours. Which if we do check out sounding out there, this is why you need to check its sign in values, because even though, from a superset composite standpoint, there may be a lot of instability in wind shear, but it does not look into the sign in. If it were to look to the sign in, it probably would show like nothing. Look at the sounding here. You got the wind shear, you got the instability, but there's a very strong cap in place out here. Very strong. And you can see here the holograph just doesn't look great either. And that's just partially due to the very strong cap that's in place out there. Now, if there were not be a cap in place, this could be a significant event. But I will mention that in some occasions the NAM has what's the right word for it? Overestimated in past events. That's what I was going to try to say there as well. So, but still, regardless here, I will not let my guard down just yet because in some future runs they may slowly back off the cap, and that could lead to some more concerns as well. So, we'll still have to keep an eye on that as well. And then you get into Friday, and Friday is going to be a large area to watch for from Michigan all the way back down to the portions of the Severn Plains here. Now, up in Michigan, where you're a little bit closer to the low here, you might see a little bit more of a supercell thread out there. You notice here from the NAM model, some pretty elevated values out there. If we check out the GFS model here, this is Thursday. Almost forgot to show this. Maybe you can see here, once again here, some sign in out there. If you take it to 6Z, you can see there's a little bit faster here, but still shows a lot of sign in out there. But let's take this into Friday as well. And you can see here some similarities between the NAM and the GFS here. So pretty decent elevated supercell composite values up into Michigan. Which if we do check a sounding here from the NAM in northern Michigan, There is a cap in the mid levels here, but I still would believe some of the sources might be able to blow for that cap here, given the fact there's going to be a decent amount of lift out there. You know, mid level lap rates is pretty elevated, and also instability values are also elevated too. Downdraft cape is pretty good. Low level shear is on the weaker side, but if you get in the upper levels, it's on the stronger side. And there's also a nice holograph. So, if a discrete cell were to form in its environment, conditions could be favorable for damaged winds, large hail, even some tornadoes as well. A little bit of spectacle about the strong tornado threat because of that low of a shear is on the weaker side, and that can help limit the strong tornado threat. But then again, there can still be plenty of time for changes. But that's not the only area watching here. We also got to watch along the cold front too. We actually check out instability here along the cold front in the sign in. You got problems here. You actually got a lot of sign in along that cold front here. Now, a little bit different story if you get back to down to Oklahoma. Really, a lot of this is capped here. At least what is suggested by the NAM anyway. And you can see here, superset composite values, even though they're elevated, a lot of stuff here is capped. But likely in the overnight hours, if we go to 3Z on Saturday here, some of these sign-in values begin to back off, which you can see here we were seeing values like negative 200, negative 300. Now we're seeing values between the negative 40 and the negative 80 side of things. So the cap will slowly weaken. I think at this point here, I think thunderstorms can form with this here because the cold front will force the storms to kind of blow up. And this will also prevent thunderstorms developing out ahead of the main cold or out ahead the main squall line. And if we check out the GFS model too, if you check out surface space cam, you know what? It's got some similarities out there. Now, a little bit different story up in Michigan here. If we take it a little bit deeper here into Friday, there are some lower values out. Actually, there is not much way of lower values out there. So some uncertainty out there, but I also do believe GFS is also a little bit fast with the cold front here. But we'll have to wait and see. What's also interesting earlier in the day, though, there is some cap breaks out there. So there is quite a bit of certainty here between the NAM and GFS, but we'll probably have a better idea on the severe weather setup whenever the HRRR model gets in range and probably the high-res NAM as well. You also notice here, as we get into Saturday here, the front does begin to slow down. It kind of shifts farther to the south and east just a little bit here, more focus in the Ohio Valley, probably back down into the Texarkana region. If we check out the low of jet at around the same time, there is a decent low of jet in place here, but it's not terribly strong either. Can still be supportive for some severe weather. And if you check out superset composite, you know, not very high numbers, but still could be supportive for some severe weather. And it could shift up into the northeast by Sunday. And before I end this video, little announcement here. I recently got a new job at one of the local factories here in my hometown. Yesterday, on the first day, it really burned me out. So that's why I did not make a video yesterday, because I was extremely burned out. Now, luckily today, I wasn't nearly as burned out as yesterday, so I was able to kind of make a video as well, which I'm glad, because there's a lot of stuff going on out there in the weather world. So I just want to let you guys know about that. And also, by the way, on Twitter, I would not be nearly as active in the morning and even early in the mid-afternoon. I will not be very active in those time periods because I will be working out there as well, which of course I do get breaks there, and I usually sometimes use those breaks just look through some weather model data as well, like I always do behind the scenes with these videos as well. And by the way, it's only Monday through Thursday, so I'll probably be a little bit more active on Fridays and over the weekend as well. But anyways, guys, that's all for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Guys, like this video, hit that like button. If you do like my channel, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, put in the comment section down below. I answer you guys questions. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye and have a good day.